you just hit on something with the math. Why
It's math and
is a lot of kids in our community pushed more towards sports and entertainment versus education?
They don't want you to think.
They ain't paying you when it comes to education.
I beg to
You
differ.
know what scenario?
Long run.
Like, why are we not
Wait, what?
investing in
Duh, do you know how many
in
people
kids
that
being
we knew
chemistry?
growing up in high school? You know what I'm saying? That went into education that I heard you, Justin, and other people laugh at?
No, I'm not talking
No,
about
no,
that
no, no.
education.
He's not talking about being a
Oh,
teacher.
okay.
No,
All right.
I'm
He's talking
talking about
about just focusing on your studies.
yeah, like
Learning
academics,
something.
like
Okay.
being
Yeah,
like
learning
being
something.
in business, like majoring in business, economics, what is it called?
Becoming a lawyer,
Chemistries and
doctor, yeah.
yes, doctors and
Biology, yes.
biologies and all these different things. Why
Engineering.
aren't kids pushed in their academics, like studying and reading and being philosophy, like really trying to take over this world instead of just being, a sports player?
You know, I know someone personally that his son graduated high school with a 4.8 GPA, right?
Mhm.
And he is now in college off of a scholarship, and he was a hooper. Yeah, I mean, he plays sports, but his scholarship was an academic scholarship. And my
Mhm.
boy tells me all the time, he's like, "Yo, I couldn't be prouder of my son for being in school because of what he did in the classroom versus what he did on the basketball court." And that is something that you don't hear often from, you know, people in general. It's glorified for your kid to be able to go to the NBA. It's glorified for your kid to be able to get into whatever college to then play in the NBA, right? Equally as such with
Mhm.
football and, not so much baseball, but, those are the two big sports that get the love. But the pride that my boy has and had in our conversation, him telling me about his son accomplishing that goal is nothing like that. Because you know
Yeah,
that he
it's
might not be, an NBA player, but with his intelligence, he'll be able to be something. And that, sir, is more important than anything else in the world. There's two dudes, which my deepest condolences, because I don't know their names. It just popped up on the screens. Two dudes that OD'd on drugs this past day or two, basketball players that are no longer here. They just gave, like a moment of silence for them before this game earlier. And excuse me, nope,
College?
nope, NBA. Yeah, tonight,
Really?
like within
wow.
last 24 hours. You know,
Brandon Clark,
Yikes.
was
I didn't
that
hear
Brandon
Brandon
Clark?
Clark.
The reason why,
Grizzlies.
I yeah,
Yeah, it was a Grizzlies player, and they had another dude up there, but he ended up. Oh, I guess he OD'd. I don't know on what, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like it's glorified, but it gives you so much access, and not to mention there's so many NBA players that get this money and blow it. You know, no offense to my guy Sebastian Telfair, I love him to death. He was one of those guys back in the day. He had the MTV
that
special.
has nothing to that's nothing to do with him though. I'm not gonna blame. See, this is the problem.
Didn't he have bad management?
Him, Michael Beasley. No, it was his family. It's their
Oh,
families.
okay.
Him, Beasley is their family still. They're trying to feed everybody
Mm.
early instead of somebody. Again, you need somebody outside of your camp that says that's gonna take your money away from you and tell everybody you need to chill for 4 years. This man needs his next contract.
It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Sometimes you got to pay for the
It's
product.
meant.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes
Yeah,
you got to
it's and
pay
it's meant.
to, provide the education that you need from, the teachers and the school and, the leadership of the school. Yeah, I live in Bridgeport, bro. You know what I mean? And Bridgeport was rated number one. They have the number one worst high school in the state. Number one worst high school in the state.
Harding?
It's Bassett. Bassett, number one worst high
Bassett.
school in the state.
Oh yeah, I forgot
It's
about that.
always it's either Bassett or Harding.
And that was like lowest efficiency on like reading and this and this and this. And I live right down the street from Harding. You know what I mean? And you know, I got my little guy. Does he go to school in Bridgeport? No, he does not. You know what I'm saying? And the reason being is because you don't put money into, the infrastructure of these schools. These public schools don't get the money. So what you have to do in order to make sure that your kid has a great education and is taken care of the way they need to be, regardless of what city you're in, is you got to pay for it. Get yourself
And I
accustomed to paying for education.
Yeah, because if they're in a school district, you need to pay for a tutor so they can get what they're supposed to be, so they're on the same level as the competition when they get
Yeah.
out.
some people still pay. Some people still pay for the tutors, regardless. And you know what it is? It is education. Because you can put it in a book. People won't. You can put the truth in a book, and people won't read it.
What
And
they
I
say, you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in the book.
think
Stopped
they're
us
not
from
only paying.
kill you
They're
for being
not
able to
only
read
paying.
back in the day. Go ahead.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah,
where the
and that's what they
information
are
is.
now. Yeah, because they don't want people to find. They don't want us to find out who we really are.
Pay.
That's really why they don't. That's really why they push you to sports.
Cattle.
Yeah, because you're a cattle. You're cattle.
Yeah,
But I think people are not only paying private schools now, paying for the education. I think they're paying for the access, for their kids to have
that network
connections and
is part of
network,
it. Yes,
connections and
that's
network.
a big part of it.
I think that's more of it. I think that is what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
think
mean,
that's what it is the most.
think about it. Think about the kids that are from wealthy homes or, you know, are from like, let's say, like stars or people of fame. Their kids normally don't just go to a regular school, right? Like they're around a bunch of kids that are on the same level as they are, or maybe even more so, right? Financially, as far as their families and what they bring to the table. And it doesn't matter sometimes how, you know, what it is that they get themselves into. Nepotism is going to allow them to be able to get to where they need to be regardless,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I know personally of I'm a lacrosse player, my brother's lacrosse players. There was a dude when I was in high school, he got caught up with some stuff. He ended up calling his lawyer and his dad, and they got him out of that stuff. And that stuff means that he was unfortunately involved with somebody being unalived. And, that was in, beginning of the school year, maybe mid year of the school year. Lacrosse is a spring sport. And I played against him and at the end of the year, you know what I mean? Meaning that his father and his people that they got themselves involved with uh, swept that shit on their table. Now, mind you, if somebody like myself would have been in that same scenario, I'd probably just be getting home now. So
Absolutely.
it has a lot to do with wealth and nepotism and opportunities for people to be able to have things that others aren't privy to or have available to themselves, and that's a privilege. And people tend to uh, tug on the privilege a little bit more so than others, especially when the
Yeah.
opportunity presents for themselves.
Absolutely.